Hello, hello, kitties. We are back. This is Jim Lowenser. I'm the host today for the Exponential Files. We do the show every week. We are always talking to EXP associated people or people that want to be associated with EXP. That's we had one that wasn't quite there yet. So, that all being said, let's launch into the show today. We have a great guest, Sal Sofia. Sal is based in Delray Beach, Florida, and he's with the XP. Also does a lot of financial planning. And I came to meet Sal basically because of an amazing little message that he left on the EXP workplace that spoke about the responsibilities that realtors sometimes forget. I've certainly been in the business long enough to know that this is something that is something that I have to think about more often, not just for myself, but for all the people that I've helped in the past. Welcome, Sal. We're going to dive right in. You know what you tweeted or messaged, whatever you want to call it.
I do. Well, I'm one of those too, right? So I'm not exempt from anything, which means that
But explain to the audience what you wrote and why you wrote it.
well, there's a backdrop here, and that is that prior to my getting involved in real estate, I bring to the table 35 years of helping families not just build assets and construct a lifestyle design, but also accumulate assets. But then again, I've been trained on protecting those assets. I've been trained on the transition of property, the transition of assets, both digital and hard real assets, which is another story in itself, digital assets, and that's for another day. But so for me, I've always been preparing people for that end game, right? That end plan. Getting people inside of an asset or putting an asset into a family, that can come very easy. People make decisions and buy investments and purchase stocks and all of that, but nobody really works with them on the exit plan, on the exit. So we get them involved with money, but then we fail to figure out how to be there for them for that final, exit transfer. So when I got involved in real estate in 2010, it was simply because I was nudged by someone who said, Sal, why don't you have your real estate license? I mean, you have all these other licenses, you know so much. Many people already know you. I come from New York with, at the time, 20 years of this kind of work I'm speaking about, where I had my own agencies and built and recruited, trained, motivated agents to do business, not in real estate at that time. But they said, when I came to Florida, one thing was, you're going to trip over business. You should have your real estate license. I already handle people's IRA money, 401k money, right? They entrust me for all of that. So it's an easier transition for them and for me to guide them with this big investment of real estate and property.
But let's go back to what I read. The story was
yeah. So the story is that when people fail to plan for this estate plan that everyone really should have, things like this happen. And what happens is getting a phone call, and I do get calls from families to help them with estate planning. Not that I'm come right out and say I'm not an attorney, don't need to be. But when somebody passes away, which is what happened, the spouse, the surviving spouse, who was sitting there with property, failed to really understand the mechanics that her husband left behind or didn't leave behind. And that is the issue. It's not just knowing that there are things that should have been taken care of, like accounts and where everything is. But the real mystery is where things aren't. In other words, so many things she did not know. So she's reaching out to me to
So
help.
let's talk about that. She
Yep,
didn't know account numbers. She didn't know passwords. She
correct.
wasn't,
Oh,
she,
yes,
she
yes.
possibly didn't have legal access to the accounts, didn't know the
That is
accounts.
correct. And we can walk down this digital trail if you like, but that's where this is going.
And your question that I read was, here's what happened. Here's a widow. She's losing her house. It's in
That's right.
foreclosure, yada, yada, yada.
And
How did
why,
this happen
and the
with,
question is
yeah,
why, right, Jim? The question is why. And I'm a top level person, I like to facilitate change on a larger basis, right? Working with you, Jim, one-on-one, that's great. All right. But I can't do it all. So we have to look at, where the training is coming from. This is my pet peeve in the real estate business. Now, the real estate business for me, and I'll get back to discussing this.
and what's the pet peeve? The pet peeve is
Pet peeve,
somebody sold them the house
yeah,
and I made the commission,
correct,
maybe
correct.
sent
Now,
them a postcard every year, maybe sent
maybe,
them a bunt cake the first year,
may,
never heard from them
or
again
fruitcake.
for 30 years.
Right. Well, look, everybody can be guilty of that, but the industry of the real estate industry differs from the financial services industry in that the real estate industry has never really set up the mechanics for that agent to be retained with that client and household. It doesn't exist. In the financial services world, it does. When I provide someone an account to where they're entrusting me with their IRA or with their C, whatever it may be, they get statements on an annual, quarterly basis, right? I get them, I see them. So it gives me this connection that doesn't exist for realtors. I mean, there's no quarterly statement, that the profession itself, the industry itself, will send to that agent's client to keep that agent connected, right? So things happen, people pass away, and there's no training at the top level. Look, this is just my pet peeve here on speaking about NAR, for example, right? Everybody's making payments to memberships and associations for health insurance or maybe discounts on, rent a car or whatever it may be. But there is no training that I know of. Now, I've taken the SRES course, right, for example. So I looked at that.
And what's that course?
A seniors real estate specialist
Seniors real estate.
right?
Okay.
Yeah. And so I took the course and said, well, I didn't really learn much here, right? But there was no training from the top level on estate planning and how to make sure that agents are equipped with the language that they need to have when they're opening up a conversation about property. Look, we're putting a large asset in.
Okay, let me stop you there. Okay, so whether this was the agent may not even be alive, could be
I don't
alive,
know who
not
the
in the
agent, right?
business.
Correct.
This was many years ago. I don't know if this is a hypothetical or it actually happened or it happens every day.
It happens. Yes.
But here's a woman, let's say, sometimes it's a man, but in this case, maybe it's a woman that's left an asset, a house, will lose this asset because they weren't properly prepared. How does an agent who didn't have a relationship with them prior, maybe they didn't sell them the house, but they're in the business and they'd like future business, we'll take it from the point of view that this is good for the agent
Yes, it
to
is.
get involved, reach out to these people and say, do you have these documents in a safe place where everyone in the family is on the same page?
Correct.
Right?
Yep, you're absolutely right. And there's a way to do this. There's a way to educate agents that have no relationship with someone who owns property. Let's face it, everyone owns property. Not everyone, but you know what I mean, right? So the discussion is, well, that's an easy entree. You own property, yes. That's a large asset in your home, in your family, right? Yes. Well, where is the deed of this property currently? Where is it? Like, who owns this deed? Does this deed have a home? And more times than not, people don't even know how to answer that question because the way I phrased it You really can't give an answer to what I said, right? Well, it's a deed. It's in the booklet somewhere, right? Well, positioning a deed,
Is it enough that it's just on record?
no, it isn't, because if you really cannot produce it, that's one part of an
But if
issue.
it's on record at
Well, it could
the
be on record
county,
digitally. It could be on record, right? And then
they
it's,
they they could pay for a new copy.
yeah, they could, and so could thieves pay for copies
Well,
of
they
some.
can do that anyway.
Right.
We're just
They
talking.
could do it anyway. So the first thing to do really is to walk people through a discussion and say, well, let's protect the deed, because the deed is not protected. It's not protected from, it's not protected from probate. That's the first thing, right? So the asset now that we gave a family is probatable, which means it has to go through the probate court. And that is the number one issue that I have a problem with, which could be remedied so easily just by making sure that a discussion starts right up front. You have property. Who's protecting your property from the government? The government, right? This government that we so-called love, or maybe not. Who's protecting it from?
Now, are we talking about local, state,
Yeah, federal,
federal?
right?
Okay.
Because these laws are federal laws that the state, adheres to. And so all property is going to pass through probate, which means if it's a $500,000 property, well, nobody in the family is going to get their hands on it until the court stamps an approval for it and makes a determination as to who is awarded the transfer of that property. So the only way around that, and to lose money from the estate in doing so, 5% off the top, 10% off the top to attorneys, plus the elongated time frame that exists before a probatable asset can now be distributed to their family. So this is a waste of time. It's a waste of money. And who is the hero here? Well, who stands to be the hero here is me, right? We have the authority here to protect them from that happening. And why aren't we? Because we just don't talk about it as realtors. And that's something that I've set out to do, is to educate, train, and supply a platform where real estate agents can now get involved with estate planning without knowing anything about estate planning, but get a person moving forward to understand the importance of having that plan in place.
What about these
about.
companies I see advertising, usually on a Sunday morning or late at night, protecting title from thieves? I mean, you brought it up that.
Yes.
So let's
And that's
talk
real.
about that.
And that's real. I mean, everything is rubber stamped today, right? So even those administrative people that work in the county offices, they get the request to change title, they rubber stamp it. There's no real deep investigation going on here. So those thieves do exist. And it's not until property is like being foreclosed upon that that family can find out that they're in trouble, like they don't own the home. This is real. But it's sort of getting away from what I think we should be talking about, is that how can real estates become a hero? And how can they understand that by putting a $700,000 asset into a family is going to cause them more harm than good? Well, they would want to be there at that end time when something happens in that family, when there's a triggering event, right? They also want to be there and understand who the familial relationship is, right? Who the next generation is, who their children are in the family. This is key, because if what a realtor, real estate agent professional is doing for that family is good, then it needs to be just as good for the beneficiary, because one day they stand to inherit, right? We know that because we put the plan in place to help them pass that asset. So now the real estate agent should be, this is what we teach them to do, reach out to the beneficiary, right, with approval, with acceptance, that, hey, we did this for your mom and dad. We need to make sure that your home is protected. Oh, you have a home. Great. Oh, you're thinking about selling your home. Great. I'm glad I called. I'm glad that we're making this happen. And that's what prospecting is about, right? How do you go from one person to the next in the family and the next is understanding how to tie it together.
So what do you suggest that the realtor be doing with the, let's say, the parents before they start talking to the children?
Yes, I'm working with an EXP agent now who brought me a couple, okay? They're in Maryland. And that doesn't matter either, like any state, it doesn't really matter. Each state has some nuances as timeframes and different probate situations, but they bring a person in. My company is an estate planning administration firm. So what we do is we actually do via a screen share. We ask them all the questions that they need to answer to, and that the agent is live and present with us, right? They accepted it, they approved, and Jim's, yeah, of course. Jim could be right here. So now Jim learns everything about that family. Jim learns all about their children, who's going to get how much of it, what their names are, okay? Would you mind if we let the beneficiary know that beneficiaries have an obligation here? Not just in real estate, Jim, but think about it. Even in, investment accounts, right? IRAs, life insurance beneficiaries. These beneficiaries have some obligation that they may need to fulfill. And especially when it comes to estate planning, that beneficiary child may be a trustee for them, right? They may be the estate administrator for that family. That beneficiary needs to be prepared and understand what their obligations are when they receive an asset that they need to take control over. And most don't know what to do. And so 6 months to a year for that trustee, for example, is wasted because they have to stop everything they're doing to now learn a completely foreign affair that they had never experienced before. So now they lose time on the job, they lose family time, it costs money that could have went in their pocket and instead now is going to the pocket of the government, and needless attorney costs that, and something should be corrected. This is just my opinion, Jim. Something should be corrected here where
I mean, real estate agents are not trained this way.
No, and they should be, because we're providing an asset to people here. We're putting them in jeopardy, in my opinion, and it's based on fact. We are, because I see the result. So, how could this be changed? Well, I'm here. I think maybe I'm the first of its kind, actually, to blend in financial planning experiences, asset protection experiences with real estate and realtors. And by the way, realtors really do appreciate it, and they want to learn more about estate planning. So I'm out there, maybe I'm the lone wolf, but I do team up with others. And we try to bring these educational courses and resources that agents can be involved with, okay? Some are membership payment driven, that is true, but they make money from it. So we created an opportunity for Jim, for example. Jim could bring his friend or family, whoever it may be, refer it in, okay? There's an amount that's paid to the technology company, for example, that takes care of the document preparation. It asks automatically all the questions that need to be asked. I am there to help them, push them along, answer these questions with them, explain how they work. And then at the end, they make a payment. The technology company gets paid. And then a beautiful binder gets created for their family's estate plan, including a trust, a living will, healthcare proxies, power of attorneys, which are free, by the way. I can even have agents start with power of attorneys and give it away to everybody at no cost. So that's another great way to at least begin a dialogue, with open the doors of opportunity and conversation. Use that. And
So if
then,
this was
then
going to
what,
be,
and
if
then
this
what
was,
happens? We pay Jim. So what happens is Jim gets paid to bring a referral in, and we call it you getting paid for the delivery of the document. Now think about this. This is the first of its kind. So Jim now is in the seat, right? When these documents are created, they have their whole plan going to be put in a binder, beautiful binder, mailed to someone. Well, we have it mailed to Jim. So Jim, now you have their estate plan. Now, if they're local to you, this is beautiful, because what you could do with this estate plan is you could make a big thing about it. See, the estate plan needs to be signed, it needs to be notarized and witnessed, right? So Jim, you can quarterback this whole thing. You could bring the notary in, maybe you're a notary yourself. So it's another opportunity for income. And then when you're at the person's home, which is really where you want to be, you do want to be sitting in their home. Right? Isn't that part of the importance of getting to know people? Is to be in their home. So now you're in their home, and guess who you're in their home with? You're in their home with the family that you help, but you're also in the home with new people that you never met before. And these are those witnesses, right? So now you introduce yourself as to who you are, what you do, and what your value proposition, what your value add is. When's the last time a professional in the real estate space has done anything like this?
very rarely. So the value proposition, if you wanted to articulate it for our audience, the agent is there speaking to the family. What is the proposition? What is our value?
Well, the value is you're the only one that made sure that their property was set up the right way the first time. And you're here to make sure that the transition of that property is going to be performed, because you're acting as a para planner, I guess, here, right? You're acting as you call yourself what you want, a hero, somebody who's making sure that all the pieces are going to be put together properly. And now that you're there, you learn who the witnesses
I was
are.
actually going to ask you, what is the headline, the focal point of this social media blast? Could be an email blast, it could be postcards.
Yes.
But I think to articulate it is your real estate agent is failing you.
Yes.
And you don't have to really say much more, but if you wanted to bullet point it, how is the real estate agent failing them?
Absolutely.
So let's say, what's number one, Sal?
I would say number one on the list is the like similar to a hit and run driver, right? Or a hit and run accident, where a professional goes in with their eye on that transaction, and so much time, effort is put into that transaction, and that's what has to happen. And then the balloon pops, right? All the air comes out. You're waiting for that big payday. Now what? Well, now I got to go find someone else, right?
Right.
I need to move forward. If it's not going to bring me business today, I'm not going to be spending more time here.
So after the closing, that's when you have this conversation.
That's I would say, even Jim, you're right. And in addition to after the closing, it should be brought in before the closing.
Yeah, do you really want to scare people before the closing?
No, it's not a matter of scare. It's a matter of language. It's a matter of, Jim, we're going to go to closing in a day. It's great. I just want to let you know that what's going to happen at closing is going to be a deed that's going to be produced. It's going to go to the county court. It's going to be, right? You're going to have all that done. What my role is to make sure that I ask you properly how you want to have this house efficiently and effectively transferred to your loved ones. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't. That's okay if you don't. If you want it to stay sitting with the government or the officials to elongate the process of the transfer of this property, that's fine. But if you think you would want to make sure that it's going to go to your spouse properly, and then your children and your lineage properly, then we can do that for you. We'll have that discussion after the fact. Would you like to talk about that? Oh, yeah, definitely. I don't want this to go to,
Okay, so let's say I said that. The closing is on Tuesday. I'm talking to them on Monday about this, and they say yes. And I go, oh, well, Sal told me to say this, but I didn't expect them to say yes. Now what do I do?
Well, then what you do is you get through the transaction. I mean, obviously you get through the closing. And then what you do is say, remember the conversation we had regarding the transfer of your property and making sure that your loved ones are protected? Because now we're shifting into will planning, estate planning, but we're not getting very deep. But we're just bringing the reminder to them that we spoke about it. And they can't deny it, right? We spoke about it. And they acknowledged it. So now what I would like to do is I would like to share with you a way for you to conveniently and simply put those steps in place and protect your property and protect your family. Are you open to it? Great. Let's go ahead. What we'll do is we'll bring in an estate expert, not an attorney, but an attorney will be provided during the process of putting your estate plan together. So it's not like a dummy template. It's an estate plan that has oversight for suitability.
And what does this typically cost the person that just took every penny they had?
Oh, they did not. I know.
For the down payment, and now they have to redo the kitchen and repave the driveway. What is this going to cost them?
Look, you gotta bite an elephant like one bite at a time, right? So you do have to prioritize what's important now.
No, but round numbers. I mean,
it's not round numbers.
As soon as I hear attorney, I think.
No, here's the cost. I mean, you asked the cost. I mean, so the cost includes the guidance that we provide, that I provide to help Jim or their client move forward. The realtor is part of it. The realtor is going to deliver the package. The realtor is going to make sure they get introduced to new people to talk to, right? But the client is going to receive a will. They're going to receive a living revocable family trust. They're going to receive the power of attorneys that are appropriate, the durable power of attorney. They're going to receive the living will, the HIPAA authorizations, online discovery that they'll have online access for themselves. They'll get the binder and they get oversight from an attorney to sign off to make sure that it was done right and the terms are perfect, the documents are perfect for their plan. The cost for that is $699. That's all it is. That's all that costs.
$699,000?
$699. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that.
Well, I was going to say $6.99.
No, it's yeah.
I knew it was more than that.
So it's $699, and then it's an additional $300 to have that package delivered. They won't get the package. It's $699 to go through the technology. It's $300 that's made a separate payment. It's made payable to my company, and my company pays that $300 to Jim, the agent. Now, Jim made money on it. Now, I've had agents say, can I charge more? Yes, you can. If you wanted to charge $1,500, $1,700, you could go ahead and do that. And you would make all that money. And what's in it for us, what's in it for me is obviously I get to learn about other things that are important and like essential for them. That might not have to do with estate planning, but it may have to do with lowering taxes. It may have to do with making sure there's enough money should either one of them require long-term care. It may have to do with a number of things, growing an asset for retirement or creating an income, making some decisions about whether a reverse mortgage might be appropriate. So I bring this element to the realtor professional. And then what we do from that point is if there is business that's generated, what we do is we pay a fee to Jim on some of that comes into us. So there's a lot more money that's made on top of just the estate plan.
Are you doing this in every state or just Florida?
It's good in every state, except Louisiana right now.
Okay. All right. You spoke about digital assets.
Yes.
So
I'll give,
let's talk about what a digital asset is first.
sure, sure. Well, I come to you being a senior vice president for a company called Legacy Concierge. And I spent 3 years as a SaaS company, software as a service, putting them on the map. And so putting them on the map meant help them design their technology, help them open accounts, help them break into markets, all surrounding digital asset protection. Funeral homes is another market, okay? And what this really means is that everyone has at least 150 digital footprints on their computer in existence, everyone. And no one knows where they are. No one, right? Nobody can get into your computer, right? Nobody can know that you have a PayPal account. Now, if you're in the business of selling services or products, your PayPal account may have $10,000 in it or more. Nobody knows how many airline miles you have, right? Because no one was really able to log into.
So are airline miles transferable?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Correct. Now, this goes on and on, Jim. It's very, very
Sure.
deep. You could just imagine, use your imagination and realize
Well, it could be, well, let's talk about
oh,
cryptocurrencies.
absolutely. Oh, sure. So, so if you just Google crypto, right, and look at some of the losses that have occurred from, I think it's Gerald Cotter, got the name right, passed away, owned the crypto company, died, and did not have, by the way, I have a podcast that I can even send to you. You can listen to this entire story about what we're describing. It explains everything, but he passed away unexpectedly in his 30s with the key, right? The key to the glove box. And people lost millions, multi-millions, simply because no one knew the code or the key. So just think about what we're saying here. You brought up digital protection. I'm well equipped to help families figure out how to solve that problem. Now, you would think that
So how is that key secure if it's now shared? So I'm sure this gentleman who passed away when he was 30 was concerned it would get into the wrong hands.
That's correct.
Meanwhile, it got into no hands.
Right.
It's just locked up for eternity now,
yes.
Right?
Well, it's so similar to stories from thousands of years ago, where the wealthy would protect their gold, and they would hide it so nobody knew where it was. Well, guess what happened, right? The person died, no one knew where it was, right? So the family missed out, didn't they?
So you're saying if you were around 2,000 years ago, you would have helped the pharaohs hide their gold so that their lineage would have had the gold.
I guess if you wanted to partner with me, Jim, we would be entrepreneurs there, right? We would figure out a system.
Well, that's the next question. So EXP, the way it's laid out, every agent is at the top of their own
game
downline. So
Yep.
We're at the top of the downline. You're not in my tree, up or down. If I'm doing business with you, $300 sounds, it's not the money. It's helping the people.
Well, $300 to you, right? I'm not getting paid. You're getting.
No, I'm saying. So, but the benefits to all of the EXP agents, and this is maybe why a company like EXP works so well for an entrepreneur like yourself in the financial business, is you can reach so many people, and then those agents can also reach all their people, and you can accomplish a lot through the message boards, let's say.
Yes.
The network.
Yes. And the question came up earlier, Jim, and I think that you brought up was, how would you might not have asked it, but in the way you did, is how do you market this, right? How do you?
Yeah.
So I'd
love to know.
I have agents call me. I ask them to talk to me because I need to know what they currently do for marketing, right? How do they get their word out? How do they present them? What are they doing? And many are failing, really, sadly. And they're throwing tremendous money into programs, digital programs, lead
Zillow.
and thousands a month or whatever. And I'm like,
Yep,
what?
for sure.
Nobody taught them how to prospect without costing money, really, right? Nobody, right? So I come from a different background. I've had to learn how to sell air. Think about what I'm saying, right? I would sell a dream. I would meet with you. We talk about your vision, your goals, your dream. Let me
Well,
help.
no, you're selling security, and you're
Security.
selling
Correct.
and you're selling peace of mind.
Correct. Correct.
You're putting people's worst fears. You're calming them down
Absolutely. But it's
for
invisible.
short money.
Yeah, it's invisible, right?
So what is that headline? I can alleviate your anxiety concerning real estate, concerning your assets.
I think, well, I'm not sure about anxiety, but you're there. I mean, it's really proposing peace of mind planning in your real estate, purchasing, or your real estate empire, or as an investor. We could bring investors into this, because investors are totally lost. I mean, they don't know anything. Not all of them, I shouldn't say that, but a lot that I speak to are just like, okay, I have multiple properties, but like, who's going to know I have multiple properties? If I pass away and I'm a partner with you, Jim, right? How is my spouse going to know that I did business here, right? Maybe I didn't want my spouse to know, right? So there's some of that too, right? It's not like everything needs to be shared to a spouse.
Well, that's a good point. You're alive. You don't want them to know, yet you don't want them not to have the benefits of it.
Correct.
Should you pass.
Correct.
Do they have to be brought into I guess they have to be brought into the conversation.
Well,
How else can you?
I think you would have separate plans. You would have, and you would have separate plans. I'm working with someone right now that's
Open this box only if I die.
Yes. Yeah. Right. But you need to have a strategy. And you know what? A lot of people think that, an estate plan that consists of a trust and wills are important, and they have to be there to solve the problem. The problem can be solved in other ways. And it's using creative financing, right? It's using different methods to equalize an estate. Now, I did an audio podcast by myself describing what that means, like, how do other investments work to solve an estate planning problem? Because when people pass away, the family members may not want the property. Think about this. More times than not, especially if they're not local and they can't manage it. There are many myriad reasons why families do not want the hard asset. But you know what they want? They want the money. They want the cash, right? That's what people want, right? So it's like, don't give me the labor pain, give me the baby. So when we could look at this and solve their problem, and it isn't necessarily transferring the asset, that we need the deed and you need to have a trust, maybe there are other financial tools available to equalize the estate and give the cash, right? And give the cash.
And that's probably where life insurance comes in.
Absolutely, Jim.
So we're not going to get into life insurance.
No.
But because we're getting near the end of the show, a quick question about the reverse mortgage, because I have never heard someone say, oh, Jim, getting involved with that reverse mortgage was the best decision I ever made. I never heard that one.
I have. Can I give you one?
Okay. Well, this is why I'm asking.
In Winmore, Coconut Creek, right? 9,000 families. My uncle Charlie was an icon there. He was one of the first families to move in when they opened. He established the Italian American Club. He established ballroom dancing. And this is when condos were allowed to have reverse mortgages. When he turned 65, he got a reverse mortgage. And he had money coming to him until he passed away at age 98. Okay?
So
And
he
so,
beat the system.
oh my God, did he? Oh yeah, he loved he. Who doesn't love income coming in? That's another discussion. People now are starting to realize that it isn't about asset accumulation when you get older. It's about income more than it is about building assets. So people live better lives when they have money coming in. They are healthier and live longer when they have repeated income streams coming in that are guaranteed. So all I could say about reverse mortgages
And
is
can you get a reverse mortgage on an income property?
I'm not a reverse mortgage expert. And I was just going to say that. I do not like reverse mortgages, but I do not dislike them either, because they're a tool and that can be applied when the time is right.
So basically the takeaway is if you want to get a reverse mortgage, it only makes sense if you're not going to die soon.
Well, everybody's gonna die.
Soon.
Yeah, I mean, we always have to look at health, right? When we work with people and look at their determination of when to take a Social Security benefit, which is like, it's like getting paid, right? Every month you get paid, right? You love it. People love it. They deserve it. But you need to make a decision as to when the time is right to take your Social Security. May not be 62, maybe 67. There are spousal benefits. There are a number of reasons why you would determine when to take Social Security, and health is one of them. Health is one of them, because if you have poor health and your history is poor health, and you don't think you'll make it beyond 72, or you may have an aneurysm, or things could have happened to you. Most people will take it early. So the same
You're scaring
thing.
me, Sal. My birthday's coming up next week or the week after.
Well, happy premature birthday, and you can wish me a belated one because mine just passed.
Okay, so Sal, this was awesome. We've got probably another show here to do, in the not too distant future to leverage this out.
Beautiful.
But there's so much to talk about. I mean, we barely scratched the surface.
Well,
is there any question that I didn't ask you that I should have?
Yes, like what I do for fun.
Okay.
What I do for
I usually say, do you prefer cats or dogs? But we'll
Well,
go with what do you do
the
for
cats.
fun?
I love my cats. They're not here, but we have three: the Siamese kind of mix, and a mutt that we saved from.
I had some Persians that I always had a roller.
Oh yeah, I just did that early.
I wear a lot of black. I see your black shirt.
Yeah, here it is. And I had hair on it because she had to sit on my lap.
And besides feeding the cats, what do you like?
And we have a little Chihuahua who's a love, and she's about 10 or 11 years old. But I sing and perform with a vocal group, and so we perform around Palm Beach County, Martin County, and in restaurants and clubs. And
go ahead.
You've
got the stage, Sal.
No. Yeah, well,
Come on.
I need the right microphone. Wait a minute. I'll use this. That's
Well,
funny.
we did have some guy on the show at one point who had a guitar and he was singing. Feel free.
No, I don't sing vocally for like a solo. Okay, but I sing in a group and we perform harmony and sing songs of the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Okay,
right?
next time bring the group then.
Well, I've just posted it on the water cooler, so you could take a look at it.
Okay, all right.
I thought we would have like a EXP event and get realtors together, and then we'll perform. And
I like that.
We'll make an evening of it. Yeah.
That sounds great. Well, I'll get you business, and Sal, Sofia, Delray Beach, EXP.
There you go.
Financial planning.
I had a lot of fun. Thank you.
How do people get in touch with you, Sal?
They could call me, right? 561-459-0222. You can find me on Workplace. That's the easiest way. And just look me up on EXP and find me there.
Okay, old school all the way, except for EXP. That's next level. Thank you, Sal. And to all of the the people that are out there that are enjoying this show, keep subscribing, keep liking, keep watching the Exponential Files. I'm Jim Lowenstern, your host. We'll see you next week.